And good morning. Thank you very much for joining us on a beautiful Saturday morning down on the southern island of Phuket. And we're dressed up like the Bobsey twins today, or the Olsen twins for a younger generation. This is Nick.
Hi, everyone.
Who have we got online already?
And a very good morning to John D, Scott D, Hans, Frank in Thailand, Nong Wusao, and Andrew Gin.
Kino Shinobi, Thug Life.
Shinobi, Icy Veins.
Thug Life's got an interesting complaint saying that you've got to give us more time with your notifications. How about 5 hours early? That gives us a chance to make time. Well, I have to say that I need to turn the sound up a little bit. Hang on, this will do that. Yes, I think that should be better. So, yeah, we promote all the way during the week that we're going to be on at 9 a.m. Thai time. So I do, and it's the same every week, so I'm not really sure if I can do much more than that. And at the moment, we're playing Cats.
Not the musical. Not the musical.
No, not the musical. But I've got a new cat, and it's the whole everything happening in the house, including programs, is revolving around this new cat at the moment. And I've got a lot of doors and rooms, and so I'm having to isolate the cats and play musical doors and musical chairs and musical rooms. Anyway, it's not important. We were going to have a terrorist attack from this cat about 5 minutes ago, but I've lured it into the back. So hopefully we'll get an hour free. But great to have you with us, and there are some important things to discuss. Any issues we want to cover there?
No, it was just the temporary speak up comment, but cat fights, we look like the Blues Brothers. I really don't know how we look like them.
How?
And a good morning to Nacho Daddy.
Don't you have to wear like a black suit with a
tie,
skinny tie?
Yeah, and a fedora and all that.
Don't have any of that, sorry. So welcome, Kato, says Lottie. Yeah, Kato is the name of the new cat. Kato was a character in the Pink Panther movies that used to spontaneously attack Peter Sellers, who was playing Inspector Clouseau. So, and this is a sort of a similar attitude, I tell you. All right, so this is the big story today. Then it was published in the Bangkok Post, and I thought, ooh, interesting. So PM vows no more coups. Wouldn't it be great if that was true? And the Prime Minister, Prayut Chan-o-cha, on Thursday, vowed there'd be no more coups, saying the 2014 putsch. That's a word you don't hear a lot these days.
Yeah, no, you don't. Last time I heard it was in a history textbook, but
about the
Munich putsch.
The Munich putsch, yeah. So it's an attempt for him to allay fears as they approach the general election. At the moment, they haven't even dissolved the parliament, but that should take place in the next couple of weeks. And then we'll all go into election mode, which will be crazy. The most obvious part of the election will be those cheap posters on every corner.
On the wooden 2x4s.
Yeah, the tiny wooden, and by the end of the election, they're just in sort of crumpled messes lying on the side of the road.
Yes.
They don't last very long.
Reg Dunlow asks, are you selling the T-shirts?
No, not at this stage. Sort of the merchandise is a tricky situation, and I think we need to get the brand much better known. And also just the cost of sending shirts and the cost of making them, and the fact that TNT really is just one person with Nick turning up once a week. So it's not as if I've got a lot of people to be able to do that at the moment. So not at the moment. And the only people is Nick and I.
And Ian asks, with the strict laws in Thailand, are you ever concerned that you might report a news story that turns out to be untrue?
Yes. Can I address that after I finish this story?
Okay, go ahead.
That's a good one. Who's that? Reg, is it?
Ian. 4444444.
Ian, I'll get to that. That's a good story. So General Prayut was responding to a question, as I click on that and then click on that, regarding remarks written by the Deputy Prime Minister and Palang Pracharat leader Prawit Wongsuwon, also one of the three generals, the three that sort of are seen to be running the country. In the post, General Prawit said he can do better than others in promoting national reconciliation. What would have happened if nothing had been done to stop the conflict at the time? This is back to General Prayut. He led the May 22, 2014 coup that ousted the elected Thai-led government. Asked if there will be another coup, if he cannot return as Prime Minister after the election, General Prayut said, "Who will stage a coup?" Well, I think the best answer would have been no. But instead he just threw back another question saying, who will stage a coup? And the answer to that is, of course, the only people that can stage a coup is the army. Mm-hmm. And the current army, the head of the Thai army, has already said that there will be no more coups. Now, none of that doesn't mean that there won't be. But I thought, well, let's have a look at another version of the story. It's been reported a little bit differently. And from Thai PBS World, the Thai PM rebuffs suggestions of political polarisation, a possible coup and authoritarian rule. Asked again about the prospect of another coup, the Prime Minister said the last coup was over several years ago, but he admitted that he does not know what else can be done if similar political violence reoccurs because I am no longer involved, which
means that at one point in time he was. Also, there was a sticker on his hand. Did he get a new tattoo?
No, he had his arm in a sling last week.
Oh.
Where's that photo?
Yeah.
Well, there we are. Yes, he was in he was in hospital, and he so that would be that thing, the cannula based. The IV drip, the cannula, I would say. But I think he had a lymph node removed or something. So I think he's obviously fine, using his right hand too much. Okay, so the question about am I worried that I'll do a story that proves to be wrong? Well, it's not so much doing a story, because when it comes to the stories and the news, I'm usually just quoting publications and what they're saying. So my defence would be, well, I was just reading the Thai news media. What I am worried about is making predictions and those predictions being wrong. Now, luckily, touch wood, I've had a fairly good track record so far, but I do worry that I never want to mislead people. I try and interpret the news stories, and I mean, from time to time I will get things wrong, and I don't mean to. Just casually saying something, blah, 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 and getting a historical fact wrong, that's just because I'm stupid. But as far as making a prediction about what's coming up in the future, like I'll probably try and make a prediction about the election. I'm not trying to mislead you. I'm just, I suppose, just speculating what may happen.
And Richard Woolley asks, is there any news about the 45-day visa extension past March 31st? It seems we never escape visa conversation.
I was going to ask you, Nick, what's the first question that we'll get asked today? And that was that one. And every time I address it, the answer at the moment is exactly the same. We don't know. Now, we're, coming into a halfway spot of March, approaching the Ides of March, and the extension of the waiver, the visa waiver from 30 days to 45 days is meant to finish on the 31st of March. They introduced it back in October the 1st as a bit of a sort of get people coming back to Thailand. It's been fairly popular. A lot of people saying, well, why don't they just continue it? Why don't they make it 90 days as a visa waiver for some countries? So at the moment, there's been literally no discussion at all. And I spent a bit of time a few days ago just combing through the media, even the Thai media, trying to find anything about extending the visa waiver of the 30 to 45 days beyond the 31st of March, but we know nothing, absolutely nothing. The tourism minister's been quiet on it. The TAT said nothing. So at the moment, all I can say is that on the 31st of March, it'll go back to being an automatic 30 days when you arrive without a visa.
Mm-hmm. And KJ asks, hi KJ, don't the libel laws make a difference between factual reporting and editorials? I guess in reference to made-up stories.
You might have to say that again.
KJ asks, doesn't the libel, I think I'm saying that right,
Libel laws.
Libel laws make a difference between factual reporting and editorials?
No, you can libel somebody in a news story if you get the facts wrong. Libel, defamation are quite important in Thailand, and the laws pertaining to both have been misused by a lot of people in the past, basically to stymie and stifle debate. But yeah, look, I'm very careful when I make an editorial comment. I mean, I sort of pick my my battles in that regard. But yeah, I mean, all these things you need to be careful of, and the libel laws in Thailand are used a little bit differently from other countries, so you do need to be aware of those if you're going to be commenting online about things. But yeah, a fair comment.
Right. And Thug Life just mentioned, if you just repeat incorrect information, you can be sued for libel.
Well, yes, you could be. So that's the same anywhere around the world. If you do keep on repeating incorrect information. Now, it's a slightly different interpretation of the law in the United States, for example.
Someone be sued so someone like Alex Jones could be sued for libel.
Well, he has been.
Yeah.
And it's actually cost him a lot of money. Now, it takes quite a long time to get through the legal system in the United States. But Alex Jones he's basically been told to pay, I don't know, millions of dollars. Mm-hmm. Basically, the lies he told about the Sandy Hook shooting. And there's other libels suits that are currently sort of mulling away in the background in the United States that I'll let people who are much smarter than me discuss those. Kimmo, thank you very much. Great to have you along with us. Do you like the shirts, by the way? Kimmo, I'm sure, will have something to say about the shirts, and appreciate your very kind and generous donation. What's his question?
Will some decision makers change after the election?
Oh, sure. There's the parliament after the election, there's no doubt is going to be quite different. What we've had, I think, from 2014 up to now is a sort of almost a caretaker governor before Thailand returns to some form of full democracy. Not that I think there's any country that really has a full democracy, but in Southeast Asia there are various forms of democracy. I call it a bit of a quasi-democracy. But I think historically the government we've had from 2014 to now will be sort of seen as the interim government before we return to a full democratically elected government.
Eileen donated $50 US. Thank you, Eileen.
Goodness, Eileen, thank you very much. And well, I mean, tell us what you want us to do. We'll take our shirts off if you want, Eileen. Oh no, that's not a good idea.
I don't know about that.
No. We want to keep the. Eileen, thank you very much. Appreciate your very kind donation on a Saturday morning. So, what were we talking about? Elections, yeah. But there will definitely be some new decision makers. I think you could say, or you could even predict at this stage, that the Thai government will get the highest number of primary votes. You into politics?
To an extent. I don't really look into Thai politics, though. I just find it all...
It is a bit like that.
Messy.
But it's my job to sort of analyse it. But the problem will be who is going to be the next Prime Minister. Because when you've got a Conservative Senate, basically all hand-picked former generals, flunky friends of Prayut and Prawit, now they're going to err on the side of picking a Conservative Prime Minister. Well, you could have a situation where they pick a Conservative Prime Minister, but you're going to have a sort of a progressive opposition party coming in and taking over, and that's going to be a quite interesting dynamic. But then again, you might call that some sort of balance to make sure that no future government just goes crazy. So yeah, there are going to be some more decision makers. I mean, the key decisions that are coming up, well, there's quite a few sort of detailed ones, infrastructure type decisions, but sort of more public debate. You've got the cannabis bill. That's going to go back. That's going to go back to square one. And there is potential that it's either going to be recriminalised or they're just going to say cannabis has been decriminalised. Recreational use is forbidden, remains illegal. I think that's probably the most likely.
I would still think that people are going to sell anyway, because it's now everywhere. It's in
Sure.
an Amsterdam-like state, if you will.
Yeah, and how do you get the genie back in the bottle?
Exactly.
But what's happened out there in sort of the big wide retail world was never actually intended. And there's been a lot of winding back to try and start containing the genie, if not pushing it back in the bottle. But I'm pretty sure that there's going to be an attempt later this year to try and wind back, in a legal sense, the situation at the moment. That's going to be interesting, I think, for a lot of people. Also, legalisation of prostitution and registering prostitutes and giving them some sort of legal status, I think, is going to be coming up. And same-sex marriage, I think, will probably see a bill go to Parliament sometime before the end of this year. So there's a few things that I think are sort of coming down the pipeline. So yeah, that was talking about the Prime Minister and him saying no more coups, but not quite saying no. We go to this next story, and 3,000 apply for Thailand's new long-term visa in the first 4 months. That's sort of written like we should be going, oh, wow. What do you think about?
I think that's an incredibly small number. And I don't think it's worth boasting about. 3,000 applying for it?
Well, the interesting thing on this one, that doesn't work, does it? Look at when we put the circle up. So I won't use that particular shot. So with these long-term resident visas, there were 5 different categories, sort of high wealth people, high wealth retirees, highly skilled people, and they all had quite high qualifications to get through them. But they would give you a 5 + 5 year visa stay in Thailand, and you could also bring your family.
Oh, wow.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Looks like it could be very popular. And at the time, the BOI said there are going to be 1 million people applying for these visas in the first 5 years.
1 million I can believe if it's spread over 5 years.
Okay, so let's just do some maths on this. But they're boasting about 3,000 applying in 4 months. So the story goes on to say about almost 3,000 wealthy and or skilled foreigners have applied for Thailand's new long-term resident visa. Well, it's now 4 months old. So the 10-year multi-entry visa was introduced on November the 1st to attract foreign talent and multinational firms to Thailand. It's not quite 3,000. In fact, it's 2,920 foreigners had applied for long-term resident visas from the Board of Investment between November the 1st and February the 28th. So that says that they applied for them. It doesn't necessarily say
they got one.
They were all granted. So this is a bit of a breakdown. From Europe, there were 940 people, the US 517, and from China 325. So if you work out 1 million divided by 60 months, which is 5 years, that's 16,666 visas per month, and multiplied by 4 months. So they should have had, according to their predictions, 66,000 visas already granted, but they've had less than 3.
Or at least applied for.
So I think you could confidently say, just based on their predictions, that this has so far been a failure. I think the idea of a long-term visa, like almost 10 years, multi-entry, but with a lower qualification bar, would be much more successful. Because they're saying, for example, if you're a skilled person, you think, oh, digital nomads, I could come over and I could work from Thailand. But if you don't have a contract in Thailand, it's much more difficult to get.
Sure.
So you've got to have a Thai company sponsoring you. And also the amount of money that you have to be making is quite a lot. I don't have that number with me at the moment. So I'd be saying that they should be lowering the amounts of money that you need to be making, or even the jobs that you need to be doing. And I think that would be much better and make that long-term resident visa work and be a benefit to the people applying and also to the Thai government. Over to you.
Lottie says ridiculous requirements for the long-term resident visa. We are a wealthy and healthy, highly skilled family with money to invest in Thailand, but we don't qualify. Don't want our money then, Thailand? From Lottie.
Well, I mean, that's sort of the problem, isn't it? The people that are applying are sort of that 1, 2, 3% of the upper level of people with high incomes or highly skilled and getting highly paid. So I think having some sort of digital nomad visa, some sort of remote worker visa would be very popular and certainly would get the right sort of people coming here. People who are working. They'd be sitting in cafes, they'd be buying coffees, they'd be renting.
That's so ridiculous, though. The whole bring your laptop to a coffee shop and do the work there. I don't know. Maybe it's just my own thing.
But if they came down to the Stone Crab pub
in Naiharn, it's a different story.
Oh, it's in Naiharn now.
Well, people have now been saying, oh, I don't know if you can say it's in Rawai. You know, it's closer to Naiharn. I don't. It's on the. It's
on the cusp.
It's on the cusp of both. So, Naiharn, if you will, and Soy Sai Yuan.
Sai Yuan. Anyway, but if people were coming in with their laptops and into the Stoned Crab, in amongst all the noise and kerfuffle, they'd be buying drinks and buying a beer and buying a coffee and having some lunch. Mm-hmm. That's good, isn't it?
It's good, but I mean, I guess if I were to take the business out, right, from this equation, right, and let's say that wasn't into it, I don't know. I don't really get it. I don't really get it.
Oh, as a remote worker, you wouldn't do that. Where would you work then?
Just do it in my room.
Oh, what a boring person.
Turn my music up, right? I can open up the curtains, have the sunlight come in, and just do my thing.
Or you can travel to another part that you haven't seen and go and have a nice view in front of you and sit and enjoy it. I think the idea of remote working is still very popular, despite sort of people like you who are boring and want to sit in their own room and stew in their own juices. So I think that the digital nomad remote worker visa could be very popular. And in the early days, this long-term resident visa was sort of seen as a possible way of moving towards that. But it's the bar is set far too high. And with only 3,000 people applying for it, not even being fully granted, I think this is a problem for the government, that it needs to go back and revisit that and make it more available to more people. I mean, as it is, I have to apply every year to stay here in Thailand. I have to reapply every year. And it doesn't matter if you've been here for 1 year or 21 years, you're treated exactly the same.
Lots of people have been mentioning that it's been really difficult with trying to get multiple different types of visas. With Reread, it's the elite visa. With Lottie, it's the long-term residency visa. And lots of people have been saying to consider opening a Thai company, but I don't know how easy that would be if the visa is the problem.
Well, I mean, as far as getting some sort of long-term stay in Thailand, registering a Thai company is a tried and true method of doing that.
Oh, okay.
Now, it's not particularly cheap. It's going to cost you 20 to 40,000 baht to set up the company. You have to have 3 Thai employees. Now, sometimes they are shadow employees, but you still have to pay the, the Social Security every month.
Okay.
And then you've got to pay for the audit fees at the end of the year, plus monthly accounting fees. And that's going to cost, say, minimum 10 to 12,000 a month.
And that's not including the actual application fee for the visa.
Oh, then you've got to
and
apply
then you have to
for
have
the
a
visa.
statement
Yes.
saying that you have a certain amount of money in your bank account as well.
Oh, well, no, you've actually got to capitalise your company. But a visa agent may be able to sort of help you with some of those issues. But starting a Thai company and then that company issuing you a B visa is a method that many people have used. When I first started Tiger, that's how we started.
Oh, okay.
And it issued me a visa. I was the only foreigner working for the company at the time. But we dissolved the company after a couple of years because we were sort of absorbed into a larger business entity. But I mean, apart from that, then you've got, if you want a B visa, you've got to get a Thai company sponsoring you, obviously not your own company. So, yeah, look, I think there are many options for staying here long term, but a lot of people sort of think, well, none of them quite fit my requirements. And having some sort of more general visa, like a long-term resident visa, which has a lower bar that allows more people to apply, I think would be good. Some people aren't 50 years old, so they can't apply for the retirement visa, the O or the OA visa. Look, it goes on and on. Having said that, you've got a lot more options here in Thailand than you do in some other nearby countries. People say, oh, I'm going to go to the Philippines or Cambodia.
I don't know about Cambodia.
Or Vietnam. Vietnam, getting a visa there at the moment for any more than about a month is quite troublesome. And you don't want to be trotting off to immigration every month, for heaven's sake. You really want to, minimum, have some sort of annual visa. So I think there are plenty of options. The elite visa, for example, the cheapest one will allow you to stay for 5 years. That's going to cost you 600,000 baht. And basically you're buying yourself a visa, and they do the 90-day reporting and everything for you. But with that one, if you amortize that 600,000 baht over 5 years, then it's only 10,000 baht a month, which would be less than, for example, setting up your own Thai company. The problem is you have to pay the money up front. But the Thai Elite Visa, they've been walking out the door over the past 3 or 4 months. And the highest number of people buying those visas are Russian people, and number 2 are Chinese people. So the Thai Elite visas, they're doing very well at the moment.
Daryl McGee asks, how does the marriage visa work? We'll just turn to another visa program. Like
You've got to get married. I think that's the...
Well, I think he's looking beyond that.
Look, I don't know. I'm not an expert about the marriage visa. I keep on wanting to get a visa expert to come in and talk, but...
I think you are the visa expert.
No, I'm not. About the visas that I've applied for in the past, I'm sort of an expert. I'm not up to date on the marriage visa, so I'm not going to comment on that. But I understand that you have to get married, which could be an expense in itself. So, look, I'll answer honestly. If I don't know something, I'll certainly say so.
Michael donated $5 Canadian. Thank you, Michael. He asks, in your opinion, will Thailand extend the 45-day visa exemption till year's end? Also, how has the first high season since reopening been overall?
And thank you very much, Michael. So, will the 45-day visa exemption, which has been extended from 30 days, continue to the end of the year? That's the speculation. That was a proposal that the Tourism and Sports Minister put up back in December, but nothing's been said since. It makes sense to me. Ben Hart from Integrity Legal, he's thinking that it will probably be extended. He says it should go to the end of the year. Most of us think that it would be a good idea in this sort of new nascent reopening of Thai tourism, while things are so unpredictable, would be to keep it going, to encourage people to stay here up to 45 days. Regarding the second part of your question, as I just scroll back here, how has the first high season been since reopening? Depending on where you are, it's been generally quite successful. Now, speaking about Phuket, for example, the southern island, the largest island in Thailand, if you're along the west coast or down in the south, including Rawai and Nai Han, places, small businesses like the Stoned Crab Pub would have had a bumper 2 or 3 months, right?
Yes. Especially with Russians in more recent days. Very popular to find them just walking the street at night and moseying on into the bar.
Hopefully without a face mask and a gun.
Yeah, no, without.
Right,
without
okay.
that.
So it has been very busy. However, having said that, there are 20 or 30% of businesses, including hotels, on the island of Phuket that are still closed. They haven't reopened since COVID. So the businesses that have reopened have been active about attracting the new demographic, the new clientele. They're already doing very, very well. You could say the same about Pattaya. Parts of Pattaya are extremely busy, but some businesses haven't reopened. Up in Bangkok, some parts of Bangkok have been busy, busy, busy. Some hotels saying they're like 90 to 100% full at the moment. Other hotels I speak to, they're only doing 30 or 40% occupancy. So it's a lumpy situation, and it's not as if it's just a nice, smooth curve as everything just starts going back to the way things were back in 2019. Some of those businesses will never reopen. Some tour companies are gone. Other ones are reopening. So there's a sort of a new dynamic. And because we do have a lot of people from Russia at the moment, some companies, including tour companies, are shaping what they're offering to that particular clientele. Hotels are having to take in mind finding Russian-speaking concierges, people, because the Thais don't speak Russian and most of the English-speaking people don't speak Russian. So everybody's rushing to find people who can speak Russian to look after that clientele. So that's the response. It has been a good high season. A lot of things are unexpected. And I've always said, if you are going to be shaping your tourism policy around a conflict in Eastern Europe at the moment, I wouldn't call that a sustainable tourism model. But we're yet to see what's going to happen for the rest of this year. Nobody expected what happened during November, December, January in Thailand as far as tourist arrivals are concerned. And I'm sure it's going to be equally difficult to predict what's going to happen for the rest of this year.
Lots of comments about marriage and all that, and marrying the right woman first. Daryl does mention, though, that he's already married officially to a Thai. But, of course, you don't have a lot of information about that. That's fine, I guess.
No, look, I'll try and bone up on that during the week to find out anything more about the marriage visa and how that sort of works into or interweaves with all the other different visa types. But yeah, I'll look. The fact that you do have to be married, I think you need to be aware of a lot of cultural things before you start going down that particular track. But I'll speak more about that next week. I'll promise to do some homework on it. And I'm sorry I don't have that knowledge with me. But Michael, thank you very much, and hopefully you've answered your question. And
Mahmoud asks, any recommendation for co-working space or shared office space in Pattaya? We're not a real estate agency, but I'm sure you could look. There might be something available.
Well, again, real estate is not sort of I can look at the whole industry objectively, but I don't really have much inner day-to-day involvement. As far as there are co-working spaces in Pattaya, Kimmo, thank you very much. Just slow down, settle down, Kimmo. Thank you very much. You haven't told us if you like the shirts yet. We need to watch for Kimmo talking about the shirts. But thank you very much for €10. Very, very appreciated, and great to have you on the program. So, yes, there are co-working spaces. There are great co-working spaces in Bangkok. My favourite closed last month, which was next to the Phrom Phong BTS station. Oh, what was it called? It was the AIS something.
Like the lounges that they have set up? Because those are very nice, like the True Lounge. And Courtier is fantastic.
Okay, well, this is over the road from that.
Yeah, Emporium or whatever.
In the Emporium, yes. Yeah. And it was upstairs. It was the AIS. Had old floorboards. It was an old warehouse, obviously, or a storage area. Very funky, modern desks. The damn security guys, though, had this absolute fascination about keeping your face mask on, even up to the last couple of months. And so you'd be sitting there working away, and you'd just take your mask off. And so I used to get sick of going there because they were just sort of almost anal retentive about masks and things. I thought, oh, get over it, guys. But yes. Yeah, there are co-working spaces in Pattaya. Was that the question? There was otherwise plenty of places to rent, for sure.
No, I don't have anything going on right now.
All right, so I'm going to go to our next story. My finger seems to not.
That's because you're using the pen. If you choose one, so connect the pen back to the iPad, put it on top.
Right.
And now use your finger.
Oh, I see.
I don't even have one of those.
All right, so this is the next story. I think that's why Nick's here, you see. So this is published by Sweetway Asia, Suvarnabhumi Airport is urging departing travellers to arrive early due to potential delays caused by renovation work at its security checkpoints. I've had a lot of people contacting us, Nick, saying that they've needed at least 3 hours to get through the whole process from check-in to their flight. So new equipment is being installed.
Daryl, 10 Australian, I think, Australian dollars, and Kimmo again. Thank you, Kimmo.
Kimmo, stop it. Stop it.
Finns could be given unlimited entry and spending rights, in my opinion.
Only Finns.
Only Finns.
In fact, not only Finns, but only Kimmo. But thank you very much from Daryl. He's the one wanting to know about the marriage visa. Mm-hmm. I'll find out for you, Daryl, and thank you very much for that very generous support. So just going on with this story, the airport's in the process of adding an automated tray return system at security checkpoints where departing passengers are required to have their carry-on bags scanned for prohibited items. So, you come up to the machine, and with those stone-faced security people, they do their very, very best not to... That door's not opening, is it?
Does it not close properly?
I heard a latch move. Anyway, we've got the new cat locked up there. I don't want the new cat running around. Not that there's any distractions.
With food and water.
Yes, there's plenty of food and water back there. I'm not sort of chained her up or anything. So you come and I take my laptop out.
Yep.
Phone
they ask you
out,
have liquid power bank. Me power bank now.
And you got the grey plastic trays, and you grab one. And
there's like a family with like a screaming baby in front of you.
Always.
Yep.
And if you then go, this queue is so slow, I'll get onto the other queue.
Then that queue starts to move at
precisely
leaps and bounds too.
Happens every time, every single time. That's the way the world works. But apparently, sometimes you go there and there's none of those grey trays. Well, there's going to be an automated tray return system, apparently. And so at the bottom there, it's saying departing passengers are advised to arrive at least 3 hours before departure time in order to avoid any unexpected situations.
Thank you, Digital Nomad, for the 200... this is Swiss? No, it's Swedish kronas. Thank you.
Oh, Swedish kronas. I hope they're worth a lot.
It's 650 baht.
Wow, thank you very much. Much appreciated, Digital Nomad. Are you a digital nomad? Do you work in Thailand? Mm-hmm. And what sort of visa do you think would be a good idea? I ask you, would be interested in your response. And thank you, everybody, for your very kind and generous support of the program. I do get a little bit flustered when they do things like that. So there's a warning there that at the moment, because they are upgrading the security checks, the systems there, and they say it's going to take a week or so, code for at least a month. And apparently this is only at Suvarnabhumi Airport that they're doing this. So departing passengers, so if you're arriving there for a flight, and it could be both domestic or international, you need to get there an hour, leave an extra hour, so at least 2 to 3 hours. Well, for domestic or international flights at the moment, I'd recommend. Over to you.
Over to me. Marriage visas and whatnot. Lots of conversations amongst themselves. And Mahmoud, I can only hope that I'm pronouncing it correctly, asks, oh boy. You guys talk so much, I can't find my...
Right, I just got one here, Reed talking about the marriage visa. He said that marriage visa is an affordable visa unless your wife is a spendthrift. I think that's the one thing that you will just need to consider more than anything else, is the fact that you're going to be married to somebody who comes from a different culture, and you need to take in a whole lot of additional things besides just the financial.
Mahmoud asks, I hope I'm saying it right, is there any possibility to get a residence visa if I bring money to my bank account under the B visa? I am a freelance programmer.
Well, the long-term residence visa, there is, I think, part of that where if you invest a certain amount into the Thai stock market or a Thai business, that you can apply for that 10-year long-term resident visa. So what I'll do is I'll put a link in the description of this video. I can't do it at the moment, but I will put a link in the description to the Board of Investment's long-term resident visa, and it very well explains all the different visas that you can get and how they can be used and how they can be applied for. You can also pre-apply to see if you basically qualify before you then go down the track of a formal application. So Mahmoud, hopefully that will help. I'll just wait till the show's finished and I'll put a link in the description to the Board of Investment's long-term resident visa. But it sounds to me like you're exactly what they're looking for and would qualify for their sort of investment part of the visa.
Carnivore Chronicles mentions, not a question, but I thought it was kind of interesting. Nick can't run for political office. However, he can fight and die for Thailand and the Thai military. On the plus side, I guess Nick can purchase land in Thailand. Win some, lose some.
Well, that's a fair comment.
Yeah, that's a fair comment, yeah.
I mean,
same thing in America. I can't run for president, for example. Not that I would, but I can't run for president because I wasn't born. I wouldn't. Never mind. I can't do it because I wasn't born in the United States, even though I've been to the education system there. I've done kindergarten all the way to much of elementary school there. And I've lived there. But I can't be president because I wasn't born there.
So you can be a citizen, but you actually have to have been born there.
I believe that's what's required to be a president.
What do you think that a person of Asian appearance would be elected to the United States as a president? Of course, there shouldn't be any barriers.
Sure, but with today's society, it's
it would be a hurdle, don't you think?
But I think my Asian appearance isn't too strongly Asian, because it's not like I'm East Asian, Japanese, Korean, or Chinese.
What are you then?
I'm Thai, but what I mean is it's not. I feel like there's a much more middle ground that I appear as. For example, when I go to Malaysia, Indonesia, or the Philippines, people assume that I'm Malaysian, Indonesian, or Filipino, right? And when I'm in Thailand, I'm Thai, but you get the idea. In Cambodia, people think I'm Cambodian. In Laos, people think I'm Laotian, or however you say it. So I have like a universal disguise that works in most Southeast Asian countries.
Yes. In other words, you look Asian.
But in China, I can't pass for a Chinese person. I'm a little bit too dark for that.
Oh, get that.
Well, in most cities, I am.
That bleaching cream out.
And same in Korea, in Japan. I don't really blend in.
You look Asian, Nick. And that's not a bad thing. Frank says, but what I'm thinking is that a person of Asian appearance would have a problem at the moment being elected. It would just be something that would be discussed. Shouldn't be, but it would be discussed in the election campaign. Frank asked the question, as we are in a Buddhist environment, why is meat okay to eat? All right, off you go. Why is meat okay? I don't think Buddhism addresses meat consumption as part of its tenets. Hello, are you still with us?
Sorry, yes, I am.
You're reading all the comments.
Reading all the comments here.
Should Buddhists eat meat? Obviously they do.
They do, but they don't believe in certain sport hunting or stuff like that abuses animals on purpose. But you can do it for the purpose of satisfying your nutritional needs in the form of consuming meat. That you can do. Because it's for a greater purpose, if you will.
Right.
Yeah.
And that animal will be reincarnated.
Exactly. But if it's
Buddhism.
like a sport hunting thing or the fishing thing, it's different because you're doing it for your own pleasure, I guess. And I don't know a whole lot about the Buddhist thing. I don't want to step on any toes, but my surface level understanding is that it comes down to that.
Now, of course, people who follow Islam, they don't eat pork. Mm-hmm. People who are
it's haram. It's not halal.
Right. People who follow Hindu, they don't eat beef.
Because cows are sacred.
So there are people like in Nepal, for example, who are both Buddhists but with infusion of Hinduism. So they don't eat beef routinely in Nepal. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, some countries don't eat certain animals. I think I've, over the years, eaten most. I'm not a big meat eater these days. I probably only have meat 2 or 3 times a week.
What does that encompass? Cows, pigs, chickens, sheep, and
I've gone a bit further than that. Widgety grubs, crocodile.
Okay, I've had crocodile. That is
Scorpion, had eaten scorpion. These crunchy sort of
I do like crickets.
Thai insects.
Grasshoppers, crickets, and
There's so much goo and salt and stuff put on them. You don't really know what you're tasting. They're just like tasting salty
popcorn.
chips, popcorn.
Yeah.
But yeah, yes, I don't eat much meat these days, but it's not a religious thing.
Aloha asks, "Are you anti-cannabis?"
Me or you?
I have no. Aloha mentioned in an earlier one that you speak as if you are anti-cannabis.
Okay. Well, I mean, my personal attitude towards cannabis is pretty much irrelevant. I'm not anti-cannabis. I have had some friends who have had a very bad situation with cannabis. Two particular friends when I was younger, and but I understand there are a lot of people who get a certain amount of relief from cannabis, medicinal cannabis. Recreational cannabis, I don't care what people personally consume in their own time, in the privacy of their own home, but I certainly don't want, or I don't think we need any more legal recreational drugs, given that the two most popular recreational drugs are already causing enough of the problems as they are. But I'm not really against it. If people want to do anything and they're educated about it and they're sensible, then that's fine. But I did have two younger friends of mine who had very, very poor outcomes from using cannabis when they were younger, recreationally, and that did put me off that particular herb, and I've never used it, never consumed it. Then again, I've never had a drop of alcohol in my life either.
I find that really hard to... Alcohol?
Yeah,
no house parties? No... Really?
Yeah, really.
No accidental... Oh, that wasn't water.
No. Probably I've consumed it in plum pudding or something when there's
or in like a nice
shot of
braised
brandy.
beef.
There's been a little bit of red wine in the beef, but that gets cooked out of the alcohol. But no, I don't drink or smoke. But I'm not anti-cannabis, but I'm certainly, as far as this particular debate in Thailand's concerned, I've tried always to speak about the political dynamics because it was a political decision in the first place. And people who think that the decriminalisation of cannabis in Thailand was some sort of wide-sweeping liberal policy to allow people to enjoy their life more or something like that, it was nothing to do with that. It's always been about politics, pure and simple. And so I've tried just to reframe that all the way along and make sure people understand the political dimensions. And so far I've been fairly correct with the way I've interpreted both the laws and the behaviour of the politicians about this. So it's not that I'm anti it, but I certainly don't believe it is ever going to, that the recreational use of cannabis is going to continue in Thailand. I just don't see that happening from a political basis.
Interesting.
But people will still continue to use it. There's no doubt about that, and I couldn't care less. Just don't come into my house and use it because I find that smoke offensive. But if you want to use it at home, I couldn't care less.
Quite pungent.
Go for it.
Ron donated $20. Thank you, Ron.
Ron, does Ron have a question?
Lots of no, he doesn't, and lots of things saying that I can actually run for governor, and if I wouldn't be a governor of California. I'd probably run for like governor of Montana, personally.
Just because you like Montana,
absolutely.
You want to have a ranch.
I would get the Republican votes.
Don't.
Sorry, I'd adhere. I'm getting all fired up. I'd adhere to the ranchers, and it'd be great. No, it'd be great.
So there'd be no gun control.
What? No.
Everybody would be ordered to carry guns.
No.
Everybody would have to have at least 10 cows.
Just because I
grow beef.
Just because I think they're fun doesn't mean I have to mandate carrying a gun with you. But
that's the only reason you do the army here in Thailand. You like waving a gun around.
I don't. I like having a Thai passport too. I like having dual citizenship.
So there's our next.
That outweighs my passion.
There's our next T-shirt. Nick for Montana governor. Montana or Montana?
I say Montana.
Okay, that's in the middle of the.
No, that's it's up by Canada, western. Look at California. Go up, then go a little bit to the right.
Washington State?
Washington, go a little bit to the right.
Okay, there you go.
Right
Montana. Sounds cold.
Yeah, it's
Cold in the
freezing.
winter.
Yeah.
I don't do cold. Nick has been watching too much Yellowstone.
Yes, I have. I have. It's one of my favorite shows right now. I love Yellowstone.
Oh my God. Warn the idiot masses, says an armed society is a polite society. Would you like to delete that comment?
Okay.
That's gone. See you later. Don't need that sort of response. Nick just lost my vote. He's a Republican.
Well, I wouldn't be a strict one. I think I'd get a more lenient. Oh yeah, and then I'd have people in the office saying that I'm not strong enough or whatever, right? I'm too soft, right? But that's the way to do it. Before, you'd have to be a little bit in the middle before you start going way off to the side and
The first
over.
the governor of Montana is currently a Republican.
Montana's a really big red state. Yes.
Big red state. Okay, so you'd be there with your Asian appearance.
I'd be
the whole
trying to
thing.
pull in those Democratic votes that are on the cusp, right? Yeah.
And you'd be getting the Asian vote because there'd
Especially
be
like Bozeman and Billings and
a lot of Asian people in Montana.
no, at least not that I know of.
They kill them and eat them up there, don't they?
I don't know, but last time I don't.
We are joking, by
I
the way.
don't think they do that.
Chicago has the strictest gun control and the most homicides. I think we need to get rid of this guy. He's going to be spreading this sort of nonsense. Don't compromise, Nick. Republican all the way. Look, we don't want to talk about... You started this. We do not want to talk about US politics. Stop it. Stop it now. We do not want to talk about...
Thank you. I'll start off on the far right, then win the primary and lean forward. I guess we're planning this out now.
Okay, I will ask you off air. I'm going to ask you who's going to win the next election.
Okay.
I'm not going to ask you now. I don't care what you think about it. We do not want to talk about US politics. It's very polarizing and you all get upset with each other. You get upset with me. I do not want US politics on the program, having spoken about it myself.
Anyways, air travel.
Yes, 3-hour delays. If you're going to Suvarnabhumi, leave 3 hours before you get there. This is the other one I wanted to talk about. The Nation, Thailand, today saying foul air. A vet is warning Bangkok smog can be fatal for birds. And says a veterinarian is sounding the alarm about the threat Bangkok's air pollution poses to migratory birds. I suppose you could say any birds, basically. After treating one that fell from the sky, likely because it had inhaled too much dust, he says nature is sending us a clear warning signal. It's time for everyone to take environmental problems seriously. And an X-ray found that it had pneumonia in both of its lungs. It hadn't sustained a broken bone in the fall. Oriental dollar birds, which are quite pretty, migrate through Bangkok during this season. Let's have a look at this bird again. Yeah, they're quite a large, quite a beautiful bird, the Oriental dollar bird. So what's happening with the PM 2.5 at the moment? That is the map. That's a screenshot from around about 2 hours ago. And there's plenty of purple there and lots of dark red. So if you're up around the northeast of Thailand, northern Thailand, Chiang Mai, Chiang Rai, good morning to you. And you've had to put up with this for the past 2 weeks. That's pretty nasty, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Someone had mentioned earlier in the program that they were wearing these LG like Pure Care masks, and they look like rebreathers. Like that's how heavy duty these things are. And it's the canvas in the front with another piece of plastic filtering it inside. It's something that you'd wear to like repurpose a car, or like when you're administering brake cleaner or something like that, and you don't want to inhale.
So everybody's going to be sounding like Darth Vader.
Pretty much.
That's pretty nasty, isn't it? So even down around Bangkok, obviously the air pollution there is quite bad. And look at that today, the world rankings of the most polluted cities in the world. Chiang Mai.
Seoul was so polluted.
Well, it is at the moment. What you would need to do is do what we do, is you go to the showing the wind maps where the wind's blowing. I bet most of that is blowing out of
China.
Out of China. That's what I'm predicting. But Chiang Mai, number 4. And this map, which is a wide map of Thailand, showing parts of Indonesia as well, Malaysia and Indonesia, you can see that the further south you go in Thailand, the better the air quality. just drew a little black arrow down there. That's where Phuket is. So today we've got what's called moderate air quality, but just looking outside I can see clear blue skies. It's not too bad, but we certainly have had more general haze around Phuket over the past week, as the rest of Thailand seems to be enveloped in this smoke and haze. So pretty much the further you go south, the less air pollution you need to worry about.
Yeah, Malaysia and Indonesia look pretty good though.
Sure. Now the problem is Sumatra, if I just zoom in there. So Sumatra is this island here. That's a northern island of Indonesia. When they start their burning off season,
Then with
the depending on where the wind blows, Malaysia and Singapore suffer, and also sometimes southern Thailand suffers as well. But the last couple of years we haven't had a lot of problems from the Sumatran forest fires. But by the way, we need to thank IQ Air for those statistics. It's basically a live feed of all the air monitoring stations pretty much around the world.
Bangladesh is horrible too.
Yeah, Bangladesh, parts of India. If you actually have a look at the world map, it's India and Southeast Asia are lit up like a Christmas tree with fires and stuff. So these plantation fires are the key problem. There's heavy industry, there's traffic, there's all those things. But when they're burning off these plantations, the smoke becomes a hazard and causing a lot of people health problems, including some of the birds out there.
Ron asks, where can I get an LG Pure Care mask? I mean, I would assume Lazada or some service like that would sell them. Or if you go to like the tech distributors inside a mall here, if you're near one, I've seen a couple ones like with the Dyson vacuum displays and all that. I've seen a couple LG stands or booths set up. You might be able to inquire about one of those there.
Just noticed my plug wasn't plugged in and the laptop was about to die, so I'm glad I got that alert. Thank you very much, computer. Nothing to worry about, Nick. Nothing to see here. Everything's fine.
It's just a matter of if we're sucking up more battery than the actual plug can provide, but that's all right.
Oh, it says it's charging. I think we're okay now. Question for you both. This is from Mango Sticky Rice. Good morning.
Morning.
What do you think is the biggest threat or problem to Thailand at the current moment?
Biggest threat?
Do you want me to go first or you go first?
I think mine's going to sound ridiculous, so I'll go first.
Not enough guns?
No, thanks. I have no idea what our biggest threat is. I mean, I guess it'd just be a drop-off of tourism, or I guess we've reached a point where it's kind of just fluctuating at a high rate, but
that's sort of happening at the moment. We're pretty much flatlined as far as tourism's not still going up at the moment.
Biggest threat, while we do thrive off of tourism mainly, I'd say, and of course there's rice and a whole bunch of agriculture, I guess it would just be a complete drop-off, or if something crazy happens and tourists don't return. But even after like the 2004 tsunami and all that, we still see a resurgence of visitors, and stay with COVID.
They call it the Teflon tourism industry.
Yeah.
Nothing
Coups, nothing destroys it.
Tsunamis.
Exactly.
People keep on coming.
Yeah.
I think that will continue, no matter what biggest threat from Bill Ellis. I'm not going to read that out, but thank you very much. And no. So probably the biggest threat at the moment, clearly, is this air pollution. I think I think about it every day. Should I mention the air pollution? Is that putting off people from coming here? Is it worse this year than it has been in the past? At the moment, yes. I mean, we've had 2 pretty bad weeks, and we certainly got somebody just saying they were up in some part of Thailand. It was particularly bad. I just missed that particular comment. Politics? No, I don't think, Keno, that the politics is a problem. I think we might be surprised after this next election that the next government might get a fairly clear run for 3 or 4 years. Can they actually get to the end of their term, a 4-year term? That would be really good. But I don't think there is an appetite for another coup. The army general has come out and said numerous times there won't be another coup. We've got the current Prime Minister who, without actually saying a definite no, has said he doesn't want another coup. I think the Thai population and the electorate have sort of moved on. They've become more educated. Social media and education generally, the younger people now starting to vote. So there's 8 years of a younger generation who are going to be voting in this next election, and they're going to be voting quite differently from the ones.
I'm a little bit concerned. They're just really obsessed with TikTok and all that stuff. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think every generation has different obsessions.
Well, sure, yeah.
And if not for social media, we wouldn't be sitting here doing this program.
Well, I understand. It's not a ban on social media. It's just a ban on certain platforms, because I think some are a little bit more productive than others.
Do you think Instagram's any better than TikTok?
Well, I think it's a little bit better than TikTok's. TikTok's just absolute garbage. I can't use it. I actually can't use it.
But you go and check every day just to make sure.
I open it like once every 6 months. Because I look at it once and go, this is garbage, and then I turn it off again.
Fake life. I'm not sure, but the moment may have passed. I'll try and get around to it this week. I've just been so busy.
The Burt tribute?
The Burt Bacharach tribute. But look, I do think the air pollution is an existential problem for Thailand. It's not just Thailand. As you can see from the maps, including this one, all these areas around Thailand are just as bad. Laos, Myanmar, Cambodia. And I think that long term, that unless the Thai government can work with the governments around and do something concrete about these forest fires and plantation fires, that is going to be an existential problem for the Thai health system, let alone encouraging people to come to Thailand for 3 or 4 months this year, where the air quality is clearly just not up to anything approaching a world standard. So I would say the air pollution is the major problem. I don't think the politics is going to be a problem. I think we are going to see a relatively peaceful time after the next election.
So you think
that's a bold.
You would say that now is not peaceful?
Yeah, now's a peaceful time.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can say a lot of things about having a sort of a military-inspired or military-run government, but Thailand has been politically quite peaceful for the past 8 years. Hopefully that will continue, but with a more civilian-inspired government rather than the military-inspired government. But we're still going to have those 250 senators handpicked who are sitting there. Getting the Senate elected is going to be the next big change in the Constitution. I can't see 250 senators voting themselves out of a job. Don't use TikTok, says Albert Coe. A lot of people don't use TikTok. I don't use TikTok.
I don't either.
But you've got an opinion about it.
Because every once in a while, when I do open it for the 5 minutes that I do, you could open up my phone and look at the usage.
I don't want to open up your phone.
TikTok, right?
You could delete TikTok,
horrible.
you know.
Yeah, I know, and I have.
Okay, but you still
it's absolute.
Keep checking it out.
Back before I deleted it,
impossible. What don't you like about it?
I don't
dance videos
and the stupid trends and the same sound and the audio that you hear a million times over, and it's just rotting your brain.
Because they do have these
constant dopamine hit that keeps them coming back for more, right? It's just, ugh.
Well, so is it to get a bit of a positive hit to the brain? Is it better to smoke a drug or to watch TikTok?
I guess that's up to you.
I'm trying to trap you here, Nick.
I know, and I'm not putting up with it.
Nobody looks at TikTok for just 5 minutes. It is quite addictive. I mean, if you start scrolling.
I don't like it. I really don't.
I seem to see a lot of people dancing.
What really gets me. It's the sounds, because
they use the same sounds
50 times in a row. Why? And there's nothing original anymore, because everyone does the trend. Everyone does the same thing that everyone else is. Let me fall in line for my 2 seconds of fame.
They're looking at banning it in the US,
and I'm actually in support of that.
But what about free speech?
Sure, there's freedom of speech, but you can still have that. It's just one platform out of the millions that are available online.
Mahmoud said, my wife caught me on watching TikTok. After that, it's all over. Frank says, boring, boring, boring. I think he might be talking about you and me.
Yeah, I think it's the TikTok thing.
Could be. Thailand's been lucky with a military government, says John Swift. Look, I think history will probably look at the Prayut government relatively fondly. I mean, there's no government in the world that hasn't made a mistake. And this government hasn't been perfect. But at least the last 8 years have been relatively peaceful. We had the protests in 2020 and 21, and this government allowed them largely to happen until there were crackdowns. But that's the nature of the beast with young protesters. They're going to keep on pushing the envelope, and they were protesting peacefully, and they, at some stage, pushed the envelope a little bit hard for that government, and they cracked down. But generally, I think Thailand's had not an exuberant 8 or 9 years with this government, but it has been relatively peaceful. Maybe it's time now for a more progressive government to come and start, moving forward rather than just keeping things peaceful. What do you think?
Rather than keeping things peaceful?
Well, I mean, keep the peace, but also progress as well.
Making it sound like
some new social
peace is
program.
not an option when it comes to progression.
No, you can have progression with peace.
What would that encapsulate then? What would be progressed upon? Constitutional.
Yeah, I think constitutionally, Thailand.
A lift on the what's the French word?
Laissez-majeste.
The laissez-majeste laws.
So things like that, I think, as Thailand sort of wants to become a more open and more democratic society.
Sure.
Probably needs to have a look at its constitution, the way that it treats its head of state in the constitution, and the way that they crack down on people who criticise the head of state. I think those are some basic things, but at the end of the day, it's up to Thailand to figure out what sort of constitution, what sort of government it wants. But now, 9 years after the coup, Thais are certainly more politically savvy than they were 9 years ago. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens after this election. It's not understood that the junta is not prosecuted for the coup. This is from Fidel. And no, they won't be prosecuted. They've basically got amnesty in the constitution, so they won't be prosecuted for the coup. Did they break the law? Well, an army has a coup. How do you prosecute the army for a coup? That's a difficult one. And unless there's something in the constitution that says they can be prosecuted, then they can't be. I think we're getting into sort of specifics. Confronting government corruption would be a good start. Oh, well, corruption.
Yeah, it's a good start, yes.
But again, I think the corruption issue is just...
Like our funds could be allocated more efficiently.
Sure.
I really do. And I think that's one thing that's really holding us back from actually developing into, an economy that could greatly rival that of like Singapore's, for example. In terms of strength.
Well, Singapore has lots of corruption as well.
Really?
Oh, yes.
Well, I understand they're very conservative over there as well, but I mean, I didn't think they were that corrupt for a city. I mean, it's pretty damn nice.
Well, Singapore being nice doesn't mean that there's not a lot of corrupt politicians there. I mean, the Lee family run it as, Singapore Inc.
Oh, okay.
It's... you talk about democracy. I wouldn't be including Singapore and the word democracy in the same sentence. Having said that, it seems to work extremely efficiently, and they've got a very well-run economy. I lived in Singapore for a few years.
If you're in the perfect harbor spot between India and China, that's really what they're profiting off of.
Sure. And would it be better if Thailand had less corruption? Yes. But, I mean, we're talking about generational things. That's not going to disappear overnight. The laws are already in place. It's just they don't get used or enforced. But it's you Asian people that like corruption. He's gone again.
I'm doing two things at once. I'm still listening.
I was blaming you Asian people for corruption.
No.
Oh, yes.
What is this?
It's your people.
My people.
It's your people. Okay, time to go. Do you got one more comment there? You seem to be reading them actively.
How many chilies do y'all like in your papaya pok poks? I don't even know what to... Like, you mean somtam? Like papaya salad, I like 2.
2 chilies. I can't really handle chili much these days. I used to, but I'm back to, out of a scale of 1 to 10, I'm back to 1 at the moment.
Someone just asked if I have ever tried absinthe. I don't think I have.
That's an alcoholic drink, isn't it?
Yeah, Thug Life. It's like
blue?
It's like derived from like plants and herbs. I don't think so.
Aren't most alcoholic drinks derived from plants and herbs?
I don't know. It also says
Grapes,
on the Wikipedia page
potatoes, rice.
Strong. So does that encapsulate all alcohol?
I don't know. Okay, thanks everybody for joining in on the Saturday morning program. We've covered quite a few issues. We got sidetracked a few times, but thank you very much for joining in. I mean, I really do appreciate you dropping in on our Saturday morning chats. You sort of run the conversation, obviously, and we get in a bit of a mess sometimes, but that's fine. And thank you to all those people who have been very generous with their support over the past hour. Tomorrow is the 2nd episode of Grumpy Old Men.
Mm-hmm. And someone had asked Siam, I think it was Sleeveless and Siam that asked, what's your favorite flavor of popcorn at the theater? And I prefer caramel.
Okay.
No favorite popcorn?
I don't eat popcorn at the theater.
Okay. You don't like to have fun.
No, I like to have fun, but I usually go to the cinema to see a film, and I don't want people going...
Oh, it's more of like a buffet when my friends and I go.
Right. Yeah, and then after the movie, there's just popcorn everywhere.
We're not those people. We're clean.
Buddhist monastics eat what is offered to them, but are careful not to eat any animal killed for their meal. So says Annie Pima. Thank you very much. Grumpy Old Men tomorrow, episode number 2. And our 3rd Grumpy has fallen by the wayside, which is a bit of a shame. So we'll be finding a new 3rd Grumpy.
Another Grumpy?
We'll have to find another Grumpy. You would be perfect because you're very grumpy, but you're just not old.
I'm just not old, yeah. Sorry.
Maybe your father, he's pretty grumpy.
I don't think so. No, he's very positive about things.
He is too. So thanks everybody for joining in, and we'll see you next week with another live TNT. And Nick and I do this every Saturday morning. We love you being involved. Thanks for everybody for joining in this morning. Have a fantastic Saturday. Of course, I'll be back next Monday with the Monday to Friday news, which comes out at 9 a.m. Thai time. See you later.
See you guys.